I think he strongly, and it is the rightful thing also to feel he is the rightfully deserving person, and he can show the light to the world much better than me. Therefore, he should come. That is the whole sole purpose of the conversation, which is why he is egging everybody. And some point of time, he also realizes Vasita says, no, no, he will not come. The people are also saying, yeah, it's fine. And Ranganji in his lecture used to say, right, typically the brothers will fight for the property, but here the property is left and the brothers are saying, okay, you take the property, you take the property. They are not willing to hold on to the property. So it is a fantastic expression. The entire Rama Ramabharata Sambhashana talks about how brothers should be. I think we spoke about love quarrel. How can brother quarrel be a love quarrel? Sitaram, humble pranams to Ranganji and all the elders in this sabha. It's been an amazing, mesmerizing 2 days, and with every lecture, I think newer and newer thoughts come to us. So in one way, convey my gratitude to Ranganji for asking us to write a paper already and put it into a PowerPoint, so that we don't spend too many time thinking about what all has happened in the last 2 days and add them also. And it's been an exceptional journey. It's a very tough act to follow Gayatri ji after she has spoken about the 3 E's. I hope all the kids remember all the 3 E's, to which Sundaraman ji has added PhD also. The perseverance and humility of a Dasa. While it is a tough fact, I will have to revert to my plan B, but my plan B is my plan A as well, because my plan B is Bharata. Bharata's servitude. A primer is what my humble submission is. Each of these characters are oceans by themselves, so it is impossible for us to cover the entire gamut of what they represent. I think we need to try and be each one of them to experience their magnanimous selves and what they stand for. To begin with, what is servitude? Yesterday, we all listened to Indian Knowledge Systems by Dr. Mahadevanji, and I know some of us are also sitting with our phones and WhatsApps on. So, anybody wants to quickly put it on Google and then see what is the definition you see for servitude? Obviously, you will get the Western thesaurus definition. It might not go in line with what we have been talking about here, right? Morning, we saw the great Rama, the best Swayam Sevak, and we had Hanuman. In fact, the reason for me to choose that sloka, Jayatiti Balora Mahalakshmasha Mahabala, is to have both of them in the Smarana, to call upon Rama. The sloka is being told by Hanuman. But I was just thinking about the second line today morning, and if Hanuman had said a similar kind of sloka after seeing Bharata in Nandigrama, he would have said Jayati Baloramaha Lakshmasha Mahabalaha Raja Jayati Bharataha Raghavena Abhipalitaha. But look at the definition. It's important not to get influenced by the cursory things we look around. The state of being a slave, a condition of being forced to obey another person, is this servitude what we have been seeing from the morning? Very, very clearly, it is not sounding right. Right? Is that right? Anybody is okay with this definition of servitude, the way we have been looking at? Very clearly, servitude is not equal to slavery. Right? While we also strictly abhor slavery, slavery is adimaitanam. Servitude is seva, sevai, susrushai. So fundamentally, these things are very, very different. I think it is important to put this to rest. While I think the meaning of service is much better explained even in the same thesaurus, I think servitude, they have got it completely wrong. Servitude, in fact, is an inherent feature of all human beings. From the time we are born, from the time till the time we die, I think servitude in different forms is what we look at. Every human definitely serves a purpose. I think it is a fundamental thing. Whether that person contributes extensively or less is the gradation, but definitely everybody serves a purpose. If you look at the different forms of service, we can serve a person, we can serve in work, we can serve the nation, we can serve our household, we can serve the community, we can serve the Rashtra. So it is how different we can serve the Lord. who represents the Rashtra and works for the universal welfare. So therefore, servitude is omnipresent. And like Ranganji said in the morning, it is also totally voluntary. I think the Swayam Sevak aspect is something which is quite voluntary. At least to some aspect of these things, the servitude will happen, whether it is to a mother, father, friend, the lover, or to a master, or to your inner peace. I think the service attitude will somewhere have its form because it is an inherent nature for all human beings. So I would like to call this a service plus attitude because obviously the first thing I also did was to look at Google and I was not happy with that definition. So I thought, let me put servitude as service plus attitude. So it is very important for us to look at whom or what to serve. I think Gayatri ji also presented some aspects of it. It is important to understand whom should we serve, what to serve, and why to serve. These are very critical questions we should have before just falling at the feet of anybody who we come across, right? Because one of the fundamental features of servitude is you become humble in front of them, you try and learn something from them, you try and become them. That's the ultimate goal, what Sundararamanji also spoke about in the morning. There are people who say, okay, I can't be that, so just help me, or I try to be that. So there could be some spaces in between also. It may not be a binary kind of a stuff. But every being services itself for others. This, I think, I mean, when I also started thinking about this topic, we have been in this journey of Ramayana for quite some time, and we can go on and on. But everywhere, like Ranganji talks about, there are some fundamental principles which are core for us in Web of Life Makers. And those are very, very simple. They are simple fundamental realities. So our thoughts will come again and again to that. I think that's the benefit of the meditation. That's the meditation of the tapasya we are doing, being part of this ashrama and this study circle. So this every being services itself for others is nothing but sukha prapti dukkha nivritti, which is there everywhere. So everybody either services themselves. It's called what? Selfish service. Otherwise, we call it a selfless service. But somewhere or the other, it is from an amoeba to the humans who can serve the entire environment, entire world. I think everybody services oneself for the others. But the difference is the gradation of dharma, what we say, right? The steps of dharma. The servitude to a higher purpose can lead us to spiritual progress. That's an important thing for us to understand why to serve. For a lot of people will ask service. I mean, the service, the first definition, if they go with, they will say servitude is slavery. So we should not do it. But if we start looking at it as service in the true sense, it's seva, susrusha, it cleanses the mind. It leads us to spiritual progress. That's an important dimension in every aspects of life, be it in family, when we are at home, be it at work. I'll come to that in a while on specifics of Bharata, how it can affect our work in terms of servitude as a service plus attitude. Who is Bharata? Who is Bharata is quite well known, right? Bharata is servitude. Bharata is servitude in the true sense. So before that, can we all answer this question? Is servitude a facet of the weak? If somebody has to serve, is it a facet of the weak? Hanuman, just now we heard, right? In the morning, in fact, we listened to the servitude of the man. Then we came to Hanuman. Now we'll get into human, right? So Hanuman is a superhuman. He's not just a man, he's a superhuman. And we just heard in great grandeur about the superhuman's servitude. If a superhuman can exhibit such a kind of servitude, can a superhuman also exhibit servitude? The only difference I saw after listening to Gayatri ji's lecture was maybe Bharata is Hanuman without the broken jaw. I think he had a good jaw and he's same Hanuman. He's efficient, he's egoless, he is expectation free. So I think he has all those facets of the same aspects, but I think he's a true superhuman, right? So Bharata has exhibited that servitude, and as many, many followers say, he shows the way how we serve with purpose and we garner eternal glory. I think this is also, in some sense, a midlife crisis. I mean, I'm also going through it in some sense in work circles. Okay, at some point of time, you start earning. I mean, you are educated well, then you start earning. Then after some point of time, you feel, okay, what am I doing? Am I working for that 0.1% increase in profit, 1% increase in sales, 5% increase in ticket size? Something like that is what our life revolves around. But we always come back to saying, what am I exactly doing? Who am I? Who am I is a much higher question, but what am I doing here? Who am I impacting, etc. I think Bharata has shown that path on how he's gone with what was given to him as his role, and very seamlessly, efficiently, in a legoless manner, expectation free manner. I think he's exhibited all those things, and that is why I think till today Ramayana is there, Bharatayana is also there. We keep singing about his glory, right? And I wanted to make sure everybody here goes back with the feeling Bharata's servitude is a servitude of a very, very strong soul, right? I mean, it is not something which a weak soul can ever imagine to even exhibit. That's very important. These are the different facets of Bharata, right? The virtuous son. Okay, he's a Gunavan. I think his introduction starts like that. He's an intellect. Everybody calls him an intellect. He also, in one line, talks about it. And while he also doesn't talk, he is very, very humble by nature. He's a warrior. Viraha is an attribute which is given by Valmiki to him. Of course, he's a master administrator. I think we all know that, and we will see it in some more detail also. So, who all does Bharata serve? I think all my animations have gone for a toss, so everything is coming into one go, but it's fine. Who all does Bharata serve in a chronological order? If you see, I think he serves his parents, Matudeva Bhava, Pitrudeva Bhava. The way how it starts, because it starts with the Pitrudeva Bhava, because we talk about how he is thinking about his father while he is in Kekeya kingdom also. When he comes back to Kaikeyi, how he respects his mother, how he treats his grandfather, how he is with his uncle, etc. Briefly explained. And this is one of the wonders for me, because Bharata is not a character who straddles the entire part of Ramayana, comes for very few sargas, but somebody who can give you a very, very lasting impact. I think if somebody lives on this earth, the legacy is always measured by the amount of time they are able to touch people's lives and the number of people's lives they are able to touch. I think both those aspects is something Bharata has mastered. While he comes for very few sargas, he's been able to master that aspect. Acharya Devo Bhava, how he respects Vasishta, while he is completely lamenting the moment Guru says, do your kartavya. I mean, there are karmas to be done. I think he gets along with it, finishes the funeral rites of his father. Kausalya, how he exhibits motherly love towards Kausalya, how that long chapter of how he is attributing himself to get all those sins if he had an iota of sending Rama to the forest. And of course, people nation, that's I think the crux of what he is. I think his master thinks about universal welfare, and he is no less in that. Which facet is Bharata's call to glory? Yeah, he serves all these people, right? But I think the defining aspect of what Bharata's call to glory, why he is known till today, is his service attitude to Rama. And what are his relationships of Bharata to Rama? There are different ways, right? I think the most important thing which I would want to touch upon is the first one. It's a Sishya to a Guru, very, very relevant for us sitting in his ashrama. A brother to an elder brother, a protege to a master, a follower to a leader, an aspirant to an impeller, the man to the Lord, right? These are different facets of how his sambandha with Rama is and how he is expressing himself in these different forms. Therefore comes a fundamental question, why does Bharata serve? This is again, I think, for the people who have been in the Gurukul, it's not news. I think it is important to but keep having this in our mind, keep this coming over and over. So should one serve a person with power? Should one serve a person with political clout? Should one serve a person with status? Should one serve a person with wealth, beauty, fame? I think all these individual characteristics, like Chandra Lakshmi, Prabha Surya types, each one has a lot of followers, has a lot of people who serve these kind of causes. Where does Bharata fit in? Nota. I think we just finished our elections, right? NOTA is the last option, none of the above. So he doesn't fit into this. I think the aspect what Bharata sees Rama truly wholesomely is Arya, is Guru. I think he serves his Guru for his universal values. I think from the beginning, one of the most mature character we see. I don't know if I will ever be able to speak about an evolution of Bharata, because from the beginning till the end, I think he seems to be that full kind of a character. And I think the glimpses of the different way he manifests his expressions, his bhavas is very, very vivid. But I think he's always, I think that is something which Rama subscribes from the beginning itself. That's why his conviction, I mean, I was just thinking in my mind, what if Kaikeyi has gone a boon to give the kingdom to Yudhajit? I don't know if that would have happened also. I mean, if it is Bharata, I think there is wholehearted conviction, even for, because there is Pratigna, I think Rama would have still subscribed. But because it is Bharata, I think Rama is also totally convinced. I think Bharata has always been that great person. For him, Guru Rama is his key for higher worlds. He's the key which is going to open the pathway to eternity. To be in his Guru's service is ambrosia for Bharata. That is the one and soul and whole thing for him, which is why he suffers a lot of sufferings. And I think these are familiar characters for all of us. And this is a parallel which I would want to draw. Rama talks about Vanaraja, Janaraja, right? I think it is really Rama in the Janaraja was Bharata, and Rama in Vanaraja was Rama. I think if you see our history also, there are people who have guided people from the forest. I think like Samartha was, while Shivaji was the person executing it, I think the wisdom came from Samartha from the forest. Likewise, we also see the Guru Sishya Sambandha of Narada and Valmiki. And yesterday we spoke about Narada is not glorified because I think he left his disciple to have the glory. I think in a similar manner, Rama also has left a lot of glory, a glorious space for Bharata to enjoy. So the facets of Bharata's servitude, I'll quickly cover. Some of these are very familiar slokas for us. I think the first one, I think in fact in the Guru Sishya Parampara, when we spoke about Narada and Valmiki also, in Rama's context, we talk about Gurun Susrushaya Viraha is the other part of it. So Dasaratha talks about it. So Gurun Susrushaya is a very important aspect, and I think that is something which comes as the manifestation when it comes to Bharata. The first aspect of Bharata's servitude is compassion, and this sloka is told by Dasharatha. Kamam kalu satam vritte bhrata te bharatastitaha jeshtanuvarti dharmatma sanukrosho jitendriyaha. The compassion, the sanukroshaha, is a very important element. For Guru Sishya Lakshana, we already Narada and Valmiki has given sutras on tapasvi is the only primary requirement for a disciple, while the Guru has multiple requirements. I think the tapasvi, the Shraddha, is very important. I think here Dasartha also speaks about Sanukrosha. I think most of us will also have this. If the Guru is a blemishless personality, if the Guru is a magnanimous personality, the Guru also equally becomes vulnerable, right? I think this is an aspect which we also see with Sugriva in some sense, because Sugriva also feels at some point of time, will Rama be vulnerable? Will Vibhishana join this army and suddenly create havoc amidst all of us? I think because they are blemishless, it is like Pushpa Vimana, their heart expands and it gets anybody and everybody because they are completely made of Karuna. So therefore, it is important for some people who are the great dasas, great bhaktas, to always be in certain vigilant mode, like how Sugriva is, like how Bharata is. So here, Bharata also, when he comes back, I mean, what is the correlation to this? When he comes back to Ayodhya, when Kaikeyi speaks about the Rajya we have got and Rama has gone to the forest, immediately Bharata says, who has plotted for this so that Rama is sent? Because he knows about Rama's innocence. So he always feels that somebody should not cheat Rama. I think Lakshmana also has that always. I think that feeling of somebody should protect these people because they are very magnanimous. And I mean, including Garuda says that, right? I mean, you don't be so much of compassion you don't show towards your aris, to your enemies. So it is warfare and nothing is fair in war. So therefore, I think you can be a bit more aggressive is what he says. So the compassion is a very element of the servitude. I think he's also a follower of righteous path. That is a path shown by his guru, which comes in the first loka itself. Gataha, Gato Margon Gambyate is something Rama says. I think Bharata is no exception to that. And Bharata feels and considers Rama to be ubiquitous. This is something he says when Kaikeyi breaks the news of Dasharatha being no more. Immediately he says, Yome Bhrata Pita Bandhur Yasya Dasosmi Dhimataha Tasya Mam Shigramakya hi Ramasya Krishtakarmanaha Pita hi Bhavati Jeshtaha Dharmamaryasya Janataha Tasya Pado Grahishyami Sa Hidanim Gatirmama. For me, everything, like how Lakshmana says, I mean, sorry to steal the thunder from Vishaka. I hope that is also getting covered there. I think that is a tendency which all of us develop, right? We are so immersed in each of these characters that the characters interplay are always there. So I'll stick to Bharata going forward. So he talks about Bharata. I mean, Rama is my father and he is my bandhu. Dasosmi dhimataha. I am his disciple. I am his servant. I will serve him going forward. For somebody who doesn't have a father, the elder brother, especially who is in the right path, dharmam aryasya janataha. So that person becomes the father. So de facto, Rama is ubiquitous for Bharata. Steadfast mind. I think this is another very, very important point. Nivartayitva Ramam cha tasyaham deepta tejasaha dasabhuto bhavishyami sustire antaratmana. Sustirena antaratmana. I will be with steadfast mind. I will serve that Rama once I bring him back to the kingdom. And I will continue to be his servant. I will be a faithful servant, loyal lieutenant for Rama is what Bharata says. Competent yet grounded and humble. This is a very, very important aspect. This correlates with is servitude a facet of the weak, right? Here, I think he himself talks about atava me bhavet shaktihi yogai buddhi balena sakamam na karishyami twamaham putra gardinim. So this is the inkling which Bharata himself states, right? He is not an incompetent person. I mean, we have heard about Ravana blabbering at times saying Rama is incompetent. That's why he was being sent to the forest, etc. And people should not also think Bharata is weak. That's why he goes, he prostrates in front of Rama. He wants, again and again, he pleads with Rama to get him back to the kingdom. While he, out of a lot of humility, he talks to Rama that, okay, I am a very, very young calf. You are the bull among men, etc., who can carry the burden of Rajya. But he is competent, but he is extremely grounded and humble. So that's why he is able to say, whether it is with my buddhi, bhalam, or yoga. Yesterday we listened to Hanuman also. Buddhir bhalam ishwadaryam nirbhayaktam arogata. So all these features are sitting with Bharata. He is talking about himself in just a line in a personal conversation. Obviously, he might not see this. He is so humble that he will not reveal this outside. In the Mahasabha, he talks about, I mean, I am the weakling and you are the strong person, right? But to his mother, he says, I can do this, but I will not do this because this is not the right way. Leading through serving. I think servitude is it the aspect of people who are followers, not essentially. We will see, I mean, Bharata has extraordinarily built his kingdom and he has multiplied it 10 times, etc. And he has done all those things through serving Rama, and not just Rama, Rama's sandals, which is the pratikam for Rama himself in Bharata's mind. So leading through serving, katam dasharatha jato bhaved rajyapaharakaha rajyam chaham cha ramasya dharmam bhaktumiharasi. So it is important to exhibit this characteristic of leading through service. Next facet, clean heart. Mananashilatvam. We talk about Muni Pungavam, right? So the very thoughts of Guru, because a lot of these are also attributes. I think the core aspect, the attribution of Rama to Bharata is that of a Guru. So the very thoughts of Guru should cleanse one's heart. That is an important aspect of servitude. If you are a faithful disciple, I think whatever, like Anukulyasa Sankalpaha, it is important for us to understand our Guru stand for the principles. And our scriptures have been very, very open in allowing us also to discard certain aspects if it is found negative in Gurus also. No Itarani. Rangaji had taught us that also. If something is there, some lapse is there at some point of time, because humans can err, it is possible for us to do it. But it is very, very important to stick to the principles exhibited by the Guru. Imam api hatam kubjam yadi janati ragavaha tvam chamam chahi dharmatma nabi bashishyate dhruvam. So this is a very humorous comic interlude. We all know where mantra comes dazzling like the moon, like the bent lotus stem decorated from top to bottom with all ornaments, etc. And that's when Shatrughna's followers come to Shatrughna. Shatrughna is angry. Shatrughna comes chasing Mantra. Mantra is taking refuge behind Kaikeyi. Kaikeyi asks Bharata to intervene. Bharata is also equally upset because Mantra is the root cause of all evil. She is the desire who was the root cause of all evil, right? But Bharata remembers, and every point of time, it's like Rama is a very introspective character. If you look at throughout Ramayana, every time there is a time when there is some dharma sankata, he will quickly check, saying, am I on the right path? Have I done right? and then he will respond. Rama never reacts, he responds, right? So likewise, for Rama, it is on the ladder or the scale of righteousness. Likewise, for Bharata, it is always the scale of Rama. Okay, what will Rama think? Will Rama accept this? Will Rama accord his acceptance for this particular thing? I think the very thought of that here, he says this explicitly also, Rama will not subscribe to this fact. I mean, if it is allowed, then even I would have killed Kaikeyi because I was full of rage. But I know for sure Rama will not even meet and speak to me if that is something going to happen. So spare this mantra, Shatrughna. The very, very most important point, right? Total surrender. Tasya me dasa bhutasya prasadam kartumarhasi abhishinchasva chadyaiva rajyena magavaniva. So this is something which I think even the youngest child will be able to say. I think I am your dasa. The first thing, the acting king of Ayodhya comes to Chitrakoot and prostrates in front of Rama, and he is submitting himself. He's saying, and he says that very words even to Vasishta and in the court. And most of these aspects, if you see, personal conversations happens with Bharata, with Kaikeyi, or with Kausalya, but otherwise, most of these conversations, the attitude of servitude is in front of the mass. I think the people are all in front when Bharata is speaking to Rama, and that is when he is exhibiting all these things. And we can imagine, we spoke about egoless. I think you are currently the acting king, but you forget the entire audience. In front of you, there is only one and whole and soul, which is Rama. And my duty right now is to get Rama back into the kingdom, coronate him, and take him back. So it's total surrender. You're not even cognizant of who is there. I mean, you don't think about, oh, if I prostrate in front of Rama, in front of these people, if I tell in front of Rama that I am your dasa, what will people think? I don't think none of these things are in Bharata's mind. I think he is purest of the pure souls, right? So therefore, he is already surrendered himself to Rama, and different points of time that keeps coming again and again. The sublimation of ego, that is what is important. That is leading to this surrender is leading for him to sublimate the ego. When everybody is given the feast at Bharadwaja's ashrama, that's when Bharadwaja is also testing. I think all gurus test the disciples. The disciples sometimes test the gurus also. That's also there. I mean, nowadays, like how Sugriva is testing Rama, nowadays, more disciples are testing the gurus. Yeah, like Vivekananda, maybe that's a fashion also started with Vivekananda. A lot of good things are there. So let's also learn that first. But the intellectual quest is something our Shastras are subscribing for it. I think we don't question something which is a ritual or something which is a do given by a guru. It is about the philosophies and certain enlightening discussions is when we can show. And most of our ways of doing things is first show in action. I think Charitrena Vyakyati is a very, very important aspect, right? Bharata we have been talking about because he was the man in action. I think he showed by living that how can you be a dasa or how can you be a bhakta. So I think all of our acharyas tell us to question, but before that they tell you do the action and come. You don't start first itself questioning without doing anything, because that is not something which we prescribe to. I'll come to this towards the end of the lecture also. Sublimation of ego. When Bharadwaja sets up that grand palace and gives all those super setting for Bharata to enjoy, Bharata goes, he doesn't sit on the throne which is given for the king. He is sitting on the smaller seat which is given for the minister. He takes the whisk and he's just waving. Asanam pujayamasa ramayabi pranamya cha valavyachanam hadaya nyashidat sachivasane. So this is a great learning for all the people. I think leading through serving. Imagine how all the ministers there would have felt when they see Bharata like this. I think that is why from the time Bharata came back to Ayodhya and he keeps saying that I will go and bring back Rama, I think that is when he has won the hearts of everybody. I think Bharata, Rama belongs to all classes is our 80th Sarga's name. I think Bharata also belongs to all classes. Yes, he is truly won all the hearts. That's when everybody comes along with Bharata. They want actually, while in the deepest depth of their heart, they would have felt Rama will not come. I think even Bharata must be definitely knowing it. But I think today morning Ranganji spoke about Rama doesn't speak a lot. Rama pesa vechu paathavar Bharadan. So Bharata made sure Rama speaks. Rama's philosophies, the gems of wisdom we got because of Bharata's actions. And that is something Ayodhya people are also very wise people, right? I think we see that multiple places. And including the rishis, including the Ritviks, including the commoners, they all go there. I think maybe to enjoy this grand stage, the Bharat Milap, the famous discussions and Sambhashana of Rama and Bharata. Absolute conviction on Guru. I think that is very, very important. I think the Abhyudaya for people is the most important consideration. I'm not delving too much into details this because the grand epitome of this relationship is the Bharata Rama Sambhashana, where Bharata pleads with Rama again and again in multiple ways. He speaks and says, okay, I am a weakling, you come. I think the people aspire for you. Everybody has come here to coronate. And Rama talks about Dharma. Immediately, Bharata talks about you are in Grihastha Dharma. Grihastha Ashrama is the highest Dharma. Who above you can speak about Dharma? Why are you not coming back and then holding that scripture of Dharma? I think right now scripture is very, very popular also. The Sengol is very, very popular. So it is important to hold that Dharma and propagate it. It is very, very important to continue doing that. And it will be of great service if you are there in the country, right? What are you doing? Why are you in the forest? So he asks about all these things. And after that also Rama is giving him convincing replies. Then he asks others to come in support of him. He asks even his preceptor Vasishta is talking, Jabali is talking for in support of Bharata. The people are also looking with longing faces that Bharata will somehow come. After that also nothing. Like Himachala, he is Achala. Sri Rama is again and again, he is Sirap Pratigyaha. So he is rooted in his principles. He is firm as a rock. So he is immovable. And after all these things also, Bharata doesn't give up. I think I'm reminded of, it's not the right comparison, but sometimes you are also desperate, right? Day before we listened to Jatayuji when he was talking about in one of the versions, Shurpanaka, even after the nose cut also, she was saying, no, I will try and do plastic surgery. You still marry me. The last ditch effort to get Rama. So like that here, Bharata, again and again, Rama is convincing Bharata and very rational, beautiful arguments. But he still says, no, you have to come. I will be a proxy to you. I will be in the forest. You be in the land. It's okay. Everybody is according their acceptance. Rama says, no, that is not acceptable. Then he says, no, I will have Prayapavesha. You have to come. Then some Hatam also. I mean, he's also the younger brother, right? So he's also trying his antics of trying to pull Rama because of his Hatam. But that also by force. That also Rama is overcoming. And he says, after that he commands. He says, enough. I think we have had a good conversation. Now I think we need to get on to our work. You proceed, Bharata. I will come back. It's not that I'm not coming back. After 14 years, I will definitely come back. You be there. And after that also, I think Bharata's guilt is a very, very important aspect, right? Because unknowingly, he doesn't even know that all these things have happened. But on his name, such a kind of an act has happened where Rama has been sent to the forest. I think even there, Dasharatha at some point of time, he is not too worried about Bharata getting coronated. He doesn't want Rama to go to the forest. That is the bigger problem for him in his mind also, right? So that has happened on Bharata's name. Bharata is very, very wounded. He is hurt to the core. And when Kausalya or Bharadwaja, whenever they ask, saying, what is your intention? You have come, leave me to the forest. Kausalya says. Bharadwaja asks, what is your intention? Guha asks, what is your intention for coming? I think at every point of time, I think if we immerse into the world of Bharata, imagine how we will feel. I think we are a very, very loving, doting brother. Not just a brother, we see the elder brother as Guru, as our father. And suddenly everybody around talks about us, or they might not talk also, but there are these expressions which are there. They feel you have sent your brother to the forest. And in your name, your brother has been sent to the forest. Imagine how deeply wounded he would have been. And Rama is suffering. So that is very, very important for us to understand the bhava. I mean, I'm also thinking somebody like Hanuman should have given one Rama Gana to even Bharata and then cleansed his wound. But Bharata came there. I think for him that solace was in the form of the sandals, right? I think that became his solace for the entire 14 years. That became the medicine, the elixir to get over the wounded heart. So here in this conversation, why does he do all these things? I mean, doesn't Bharata, one question, I mean, I'm also preempting some of the questions in the interest of time. So why is Bharata pushing so hard? He also knows that Pratigya is ultimate, Rama will not come, etc. But I think the most important point here to notice, the Abhyudaya aspect for people is the most important consideration. I think he strongly, and it is the rightful thing also to feel he is the rightfully deserving person and he can show the light to the world much better than me. Therefore, he should come. That is the whole soul purpose of the conversation, which is why he is egging everybody. And some point of time, he also realizes, Vasita says, no, you will not come. The people are also saying, yeah, it's fine. And Ranganji in his lecture used to say, right, typically the brothers will fight for the property, but here the property is left and the brothers are saying, okay, you take the property, you take the property. They are not willing to hold on to the property. So it is a fantastic expression. The entire Rama Bharata Sambhashana talks about how brothers should be. I think we spoke about love quarrel. How can brother quarrel be a love quarrel? Yeah, very nice kind of quarrel between Bharata and Rama, and even the rishis are there. They're all looking, oh, how is this going to end? Both are talking about dharma, and both of them are excelling each other. Okay, obviously we have not seen Bharata fight, but if Bharata fights, I mean, we know Rama and Ravana showering arrows after arrows, arrow varsha. So this is Bharata varsha. Yeah, Bharata's varsha through words, and Rama is Vag varsha. The last aspect, I think the Karma Yoga, we also saw that in Hanuman. I think that is a very important part. Tato nikshipta bharatoham Raghavena samagataha nivedaya gurave rajyam bhavishye guruvrittitam. I think he strongly feels that this has been bestowed to me. When he comes back, he says, give me something which can be my what Alavirud Banyan's branch for me to hold on to. It is my anchor. And everybody, believe me or not, I think today every individual in this world is searching for anchors. I think we must be truly and honestly, we should be very thankful to our Guru for picking us up and continuing to nurture us. And this is from some conversations I have had with even the senior most people in my company. I work for Titan. It's one of the bigger companies. It's grown multiple fold. I think we are talking about 10 times here. We have also grown multiple times in the last few years. But we are also, I've also had conversations with senior leaders where they have said, yeah, I'm also searching for life's meaning. And I'm also searching for that anchor. I'm also searching for that mentor. And here we are sitting with an amazing mentor right in front of us and showing us the way. And so the entire responsibility is on us, right? I think we just need to do what the mentor says. That is very important. So that is what here Bharata does. Bharata has been categorically told, given the sandals also by Rama as his pratika. He says, go and rule properly. The pratigna is fulfilled only with that. I will be in the forest for 14 years. You rule well. And he has absolutely no second thoughts about Bharata ability to rule. While he also talks about Kashit Sarga, different things, how a king should advise, how a council should advise his king. Because he was not there, and all these things happened very rapidly and suddenly in the absence of Rama. He is telling that, but Bharata, he advises him to go and rule properly. And that is when we see all these things, right? How Bharata is staying in Nandigrama. He is not getting into the Bhoga. Obviously, he doesn't want to be the king. After listening to Guha, and in the first day, we also listened to Guha and Rama's friendship, and how, in fact, on seeing the place where they lied down, how Bharata felt very bad, how he felt extremely hurted in his heart. Thereafter, he also said, I will also wear tree barks, I will also wear the Jatabara, and I will also sleep on the floor only. I will eat fruits and roots only. And this is how I'm going to spend the entire tenure. I mean, these are with no precedent. Nobody is asking, like how Lakshmana and Sita went to the forest. Nobody compelled them to. In fact, Rama told them to stay back. Likewise, Bharata here is taken a vow on his own, and he is truly become the Tapasvi Raja we spoke about today. No, he was the Tapasvi Raja. He was a Tapasvi Raja for 14 years. He was there. He didn't want to go into the city also. He went to Nandigrama. He established the sandals as the ruler, and he continued. I think what else for us to take it beyond this as the Karma Yoga, and look at what happens when Rama comes back. And today we saw the lovely embrace of Hanuman and Rama, how Rama gives himself. And here the expression is slightly different. Rama comes in Pushpa Vimana and he uplifts Bharata. So the Guru is always in uplifting mode for the disciple, right? And that is when then they come down and he is submitting the Padukas back. Abravicha Tada Ramam Bharataha sa Kritanjalihi Yetate sa Kalan Rajyam Nyasan Sanyaryatmaya. Avekshatam bhavan shokan koštagaram grihatbalam bhavataha tejasa sarvam kritam shatagunam maya. So he talks about Dashagunam. He talks about the entire country, the granaries, the wealth, the Dhananya Kosha becoming tenfolds because of not my rule. He doesn't talk anywhere saying, I have governed it extremely well. I have done these business plans. This is the strategy I have given. And this is how I have executed. So everything to perfection. So give me a exceeded expectations rating today. That is not something he is expecting. He is attributing back everything to Rama. He says, because of your Tejas, all these things have happened. Because of your radiance, all these things have happened. And such a growth has happened to the nation because of this. Imagine in modern context. I'm also impressed by yesterday's Varshini's definition of hell, etc. So I'll not get into hell now. But look at rat race and our modern terminologies. There is a proprietor. Yeah, and proprietor here is Rama. Very clearly, Bharata also says, not just the Rajya is the property of Rama, but even I am the property of Rama. That's what he says. Rama is the proprietor and I am the property, right? So he is the proprietor and there are board of directors, which are all the ministers, Vasishta, etc. is there. Bharata is being made the acting CEO. That's how we should consider. And very truly, he considers that as that. I mean, he is not considering himself as a promoter, co-founder, or a proprietor. He feels it is a role I'm going to perform. It's a very, very important aspect for us to have because that is how we also perform roles every day in the family, in work. Our identification cannot be with what we have. I think this is a role. At some point of time, it will end. We'll have to move to the next role. So he clearly has that. I mean, he's not having that superimposition that, okay, this is what I am. So he feels he's the CEO. And after 14 years, after growing 10 times, imagine the valuation, what it should be in terms of PE multiples. We have chartered accountants who can advise. He comes back and says he doesn't even ask for salary. Not just that, he is saying the entire equity is yours. Forget about the bonus shares and all the rights options issued. Everything is back to you. And he submits the sandals and says, all this is your prasada. Because of your tejas, this has happened. What more can we get as a karma yogi's act? Yeah, you don't expect any fruits out of it. He doesn't even know. It would be very interesting to understand because in the Pattabhisheka Sarga, Valmiki talks about Lakshmana being entreated in many ways by Rama for Yuvaraja Pattabhisheka, and Lakshmana doesn't accept it. Bharata has been cornered by Yuvaraja. What would have been his expressions? What would have been his reaction? His facial expressions would be very, very nice for us to look at. He doesn't even have any of these expectations. I mean, I took this as a role, I am giving it back. I am at peace. The burden is also there, and he says in so many words also. It's something very, very nice also to be under the tutelage of somebody, right? Under a guru, you're always peaceful. The guru is the banyan tree. We are all sitting like small pigeons, and pigeon is, I think, today's most favorite bird. So let's take pigeons. So we are all pigeons under the banyan tree, taking rest and taking shelter in the shade. So like that, we are all at peace. So that's the beauty of Bharata. Again, coming back to the first thought, what I said, while I think the analysis, etc., was going through, and I spoke to Anna also the other day, and I said, strangely, all these Bharata's aspects as Dasa, as a disciple, directly coincides with our core principles. And I think that is the most important thing for us. Daily we talk, we recite these principles, we live these principles. That is good enough for to become Bharata's also. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. It is the fundamental tenet to serve a guru with universal values. So it is important for us to search for that guru with universal values and align to them. Yataha abhyudaya nishreyasa siddhihi sadharmaha. Having a deep sense of understanding of where one stands. This is where Bharata feels. He feels Rama will do a much bigger and better job. It is not because of inability, but it is because of the confidence in the other's ability. I think this is the constant pursuit of Bharata to bring Rama back, the Abhyudaya aspect, social progress. Obviously, the sublimation of ego led to a lot of Nishreyas in Bharata. Bharata always operates, I feel, in the Nishreyas layer. Veda of Pramanam Dharmasya, I think he is always in the path of Dharma. Dharmam Chara is always been there. Dharmo Rakshati Rakshitaha. There is no second thought, right? I think Dharmo Rakshati Rakshitaha. Who else beyond Bharata can be a great example for this? And this is something what Guha talks about. Danyaswam na tvaya tulyam pashyami jagaditale. Yadnadagatam rajyam yastvam tyaktumi hechasi. Such a great kingdom You have not even gone to a Kaun Banega Crorepati, but without even participating in anything and not even being in that complete scenario, you got the entire kingdom free of cost with nothing to do. You can be happy in the heights of Boga. But that is what Ayatnada, without any effort, you have got this. And how did you feel you want to return it back to Rama? That is what Guha feels. And therefore he says, Danyastvam na tvaya tulyam. Yesterday we were talking about that aspect, right? I mean, how Bharata was explained totally when he is prostrating in front of Rama, and Rama is being given only one line. I think that is because that happens after Guha. I think it is Sri Anna's Kirtana, is it? Somebody had made it for also to make this Guha's walk as Satya. I think the entire the Kirtana is on Bharata's glory when he is prostrating in front of Rama and not about Rama. So it is very nice because Guha has already mentioned now Bharata's glory is going to be there throughout when Rama is going to be there. That is what we see. Rama Vigrahavan Dharmaha. I think he is the universal beacon of values. That is the sole and whole reason why Bharata chose him as his guru. Ramaha Upasanena Dharma Vriddhihi. So it is another very, very important aspect. What is the fruit of this Rama Bhakti? What is the fruit of this Rama Seva? The fruit of this Rama Seva is Dharma will continue to grow. The fruit of this Rama Bhakti is more and more Rama Bhakti. The more and more you will go towards Rama, you will become Rama at some point of time. And here we are seeing two different characters who are not with Rama and they are always again and again. Sita is in Ashokavana. Again and again, her Anusmarana is always Rama. She is always thinking. She is not looking at the fruit. She is not looking at the trees. She is not looking at the flowers. Ekastha Hridaya Anunam Ramaveva Anupashyati. She is only seeing Rama, Rama, Rama again and again. That is how she spends her time. And this is for 1 year. I think roughly 11 months. Imagine the other person, 14 years. He's been only like that. Again and again, the Anusmarana is only Rama. For Bharata, Rama Padukas is the Rama Upasana. And because of that, his Dharma Vriddhi. And that is what is also giving him that feeling towards the end, what he says, the sense of attribution, right? Rama Tavasmi. That is how it ends with. That is what we also say every day. Padukabhyam Nivedayat. So everything, Sa Padukabhyam Pratamam Nivedya Chakara Parajat Paschad Bharato Yatavat. Everything, whatever is happening in the kingdom, it is first given to the Padukas, and taking that as the blessing, Rama takes the next, Bharata takes the next steps. So Bharata is the living Rama. He is the temporary Rama in action who is taking care of Ayodhya. So therefore, Varkaye Ramanagum, Ramane Vadvumagum, Ramane Vadvu Tannil, Varkaye Raman Tannil, Ramanin Rajyam Tan, Deva Samrajyam Kan. A lot of people ask, right? Ramarajya is described in the last chapter, but nobody spoke about Rama ruling the kingdom. Who said Valmiki doesn't talk about Rama ruling the kingdom? Rama was ruling the kingdom. 14 years. Look at the people who were there, how they have flourished, how it has become prosperous, how they have been successful. The tenfold growth is not small, right? So obviously, it is one of the most prosperous. I think people may think, oh, only 10 times. I mean, the startups can ask this kind of a question. 10 times only in 14 years. No, here the base is very big. It is already a very, very prosperous and big kingdom. That should grow 10 times in 14 years is an extraordinary achievement. So therefore, when we look at even Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? I think Bharata operates at that self-actualization. There are service level agreement we talk about, service level engagement we talk about. So here, certain people serve for actualization. I think Bharata operates at that level. I think he stands for self-actualization. Therefore, what are the key takeaways? Like I said, while we imbibe Hanuman, we imbibe Bharata, and we can be efficient, we can be egoless. I don't think I need to be expectation free. There is expectation from this particular lecture. And like Sahana said, we also have a very student point of view. I would slightly modify it as a practitioner's point of view. I think Vebolim stands for practitioner's point of view. We want to be like how Rama wanted us to be. So that is how with practice we learn every day. So it is important to invoke the Bharata in us. Bharata was the superhuman who followed Rama. So it is very important to invoke the Bharata in each one of us. We need to choose our role model, our guru, and the person object to serve rightfully. That is the very key element. We need to be very, very virtuous and compassionate. We need to be very sincere with Guru Master's instruction to us. We need to attribute our successes to our master, like how Bharata attributed all his successes back to Rama. It is important to do that. That in turn will flow to all of us. This is a very important part, the Mitra Bhavam aspect. We should have that opening in our heart. That is very, very critical. I mean, while a guru can find us, the purpose can find us, if that point of time, if we are closed, if you are not open to take that path and move forward, then I think it stops. Like Shabari, we have heard uh, the offside story, right? How um, Matangarishi asks everybody for what they want, and then Shabari asks nothing. She says, "You give what you have." Then I think we give that entire freedom to that guru. Then the guru structures what is good for you, and you enjoy that infinite kind of teachings and not restrict the guru to something finite. And we should definitely, I mean, we also ended the previous thing with Karpanyam. I think we should have total faith in the righteous master and guru to take us forward. I think this is very, very important. I think Bharata had total faith, total surrender he had in his guru Rama. And because of that, he was able to be very, very successful. Jai Sitaram.